Hi OTC Foodies, it's Terry. All right, so today we have a Southern favorite, shrimp and grits. And this is a really easy recipe. I think the hardest thing about it is going to be cooking the grits, which that is the secret behind a really good shrimp and grit recipe. All right, so today we have the key ingredients here. We have some bacon and some butter, some sharp cheddar cheese. We've got a lemon, some garlic, half and half, parsley, green onions, and then this is not quite a pound of shrimp. This is 12 ounces of shrimp. They were frozen, they've been peeled, but they still have the tail on. They've also been deveined. I did thaw them out, and you want to make sure that they are completely thawed, and then we're going to pat them dry as well, which is going to be important. Now we're going to be starting our grits first, which is going to be the longest cook of this process here. So come on over with me. All right, so I am using a specialty grits, or grit, I guess you could say. This is Georgia white speckled grits. Now this is stone ground, so it's not going to be what you find in the store. It's not going to be the regular quick instant grits. These take a lot longer to cook. They take about 20-25 minutes to cook, but they're worth it, trust me. If you've gone to Waffle House and you've eaten their grits, that's not a good eating experience. Sorry, Waffle House, I hate to say that. But you really have to season these while you're cooking. If you don't, there's no way you're gonna get salt into that flavor afterwards. So I have 1 cup of the Georgia ice cream white speckled. You can see this is coarse, it's not as fine, and you do have that speckling in them. All right, that's gonna add a nice texture to it, a nice flavor as well. Now, it's going to be 1 cup of grits to 3 cups of liquid. Now, in my pot here, I've got it going. I'm gonna bring it to a boil with, this has got 2 cups of water and 1 teaspoon of salt in here. And we're gonna taste it as we get a little bit further into the cooking process to make sure we have enough. You don't wanna over-salt it, because we are going to be adding salt into it with the cheddar cheese and with the bacon, but you want to make sure there is some flavor in there. I also have my whisk nearby as well, because I don't want any lumps in my grits. So after this comes to a boil, we're going to slowly pour the grits in and whisk it while it is boiling, and then we're going to turn it down. Now, you can get this in yellow as well as white. I happen to prefer the white grits instead of the yellow. And like I said, I do prefer the stone ground or the coarse ground grits. I want to say there's some others that you can find out on the market or if you go online as well. But I was raised with Nora's Mill. It's my favorite. My parents usually go up there, and when they do, they usually bring back some grits. And my past students will tell you, and anybody that has eaten my grits when I've had the graduations or the exam breakfast, when I fixed the grits, they were a hit there. There is a secret to it. All right, so this is about coming to a boil here. It is a high flame. And this recipe is going to serve about 4 people. So we're just going to stir that in. All right. And we're going to let that come to the boil, and then we are going to turn it down and then let it simmer. Now, I will tell you that this is a decadent recipe. It's not a fancy recipe. The ingredients are very simple, but it is rich with butter, bacon, and cheese. So if you're trying to eat light and eat on a healthy diet, this is not the meal for you, but it's worth it. All right. So we've got a nice boil there, so we're going to turn it down, and we are going to let it simmer. Now, I'm going to let this simmer, and I'm going to stir it occasionally. When it starts thickening up, I'm going to add about a cup of half and half. So let me get that. Half and half, and some butter. Now, if you have regular milk, you can use that. I wouldn't use skim. It's just not gonna offer that flavor or the richness that we want. The half and half is gonna be good for this. It's not like adding whole cream in which it's really too heavy. So we're just going to let this sit for a few minutes, about 20 minutes, stirring it occasionally. And when you come back, we'll look at it. I'll probably add the half and half. If it gets too thick, I'll start adding some during the cooking process. You just want to make sure you do stir this occasionally. Otherwise, it's going to start sticking on the bottom and it could burn. All right, so check back with me in a few minutes and we'll check back in on our grits and then we'll start our shrimp. All right, welcome back. So we're cooking our shrimp and grits. So we've been cooking our grits for about 15-20 minutes. We started off with 2 cups of water that we brought to a boil with a teaspoon of salt, and then we poured in a cup of the stone ground grits. Now we've let it come back to a boil, and as it got a little bit thicker, I started incorporating about another cup of the half and half. So now we're going to cook our bacon. So come on over here. So I've got my pan warmed up and I want to throw my bacon in. And it's 6 slices of bacon. It looks like a lot, it sounds like a lot, but it's going to cook down. And you can see I've got my bowl ready over here because we want to drain this bacon. We're going to save the fat though. So like I said, this is going to be a very decadent, rich recipe. And I use the thicker cut bacon. You can use just a regular cut bacon. I just prefer the thicker cut. It's got more substance to it. Alright, so we're going to let that cook for just a second. Now let's check our grits real quick. So you can see how nice and thick and creamy it is. So that is with the 1 cup of half and half added into the 2 cups of water. So that's a really nice consistency. We don't want it too thick and we don't want it too thin either. We want a really nice consistency here. Like I said, make sure you stir it well during the cooking process because you don't want it to burn on the bottom. All right. So let's start working on our bacon. Who doesn't love bacon, right? Nothing better than bacon in the morning, or at the office for lunch, or shrimp and grits with bacon for dinner, or breakfast for dinner with some bacon, right? Alright, so we're going to bring this down just a little bit. Not too much, you still want a high flame. We want to cook it till it's crispy, so we're going to render that fat off of it. Alright, now we're going to add a little bit of butter and we're going to add our cheddar cheese to our grits. So we've got about 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. Now I like the block just because if you get the bag of shredded cheddar, it's very dry because it's been grated and they add something to keep it separated, and it's just not as good as grating a fresh block of cheese. So whenever you get the chance, you want a good taste and good texture, go for the block of cheese, don't go for the bag. So here is our 2 cups of shredded cheese. And I've got about a tablespoon of butter I'm going to throw in there as well. Stir my bacon around. Now this has no heat to it, so if you really if you want a little spice to it, you can always add a little hot sauce to it. That's really up to you. You can do some hot sauce, Tabasco sauce, or Texas Pete even, or some red pepper flakes in the shrimp if you wanted to. All right, so that is coming along. Next, we're going to add our cheese. So we're going to work that in. And this is where a rubber spatula comes in handy. If you don't have a heat-resistant spatula, I highly recommend you get one because you'll find you use it quite a bit in the kitchen. I had another one, but it broke, so I'm down to one now. There we go. All right, back to our bacon. This looks like it's coming along pretty well. We're going to be taking it out in just a minute. So we are going to leave the grease in the pan, if that tells you anything at all. All right, now I'm going to take my slotted spatula here and use that to touch it. Really is handy for that. Now, if you don't want all this grease, you can drain it, some of it off. You do need to keep some of it for the shrimp though, so I might drain just a little bit of it off. It's just a lot of grease in there, probably more than I want to eat. So we're going to be draining some of this off. Not a whole lot, but just some of this. All right, so that's going there and that's going to drain. Let me turn this off for a second. And I'm just going to use my bowl that my grits or my cheese was in. Just be very careful if you're pouring this. It's extremely hot. All right. That should be enough. We're going to put that to the side there. All right, so I left enough in the bottom there. All right, we're going to turn this up. Now this is going to be on a medium-high heat. And we want our pan to be hot because we're going to be adding our shrimp in here, and our shrimp need to be patted dry. So we patted them dry. And this is where everything comes together pretty quickly here. We're going to use our spatula here, and this is only going to take about 3 to 4 minutes. All right, so our shrimp are in. Next, we're adding our lemon juice, our parsley, our green onions, and our garlic in here. All right, so this is the juice of 1 lemon, 2 cloves of garlic that are minced. Now we have a cup of green onions, And I'm going to put in about 2-3 tablespoons of parsley. And turn that up. And we want to saute the shrimp until they're nice and pink. Now this is where it helps to have a nice sized skillet, so that way you can kind of spread them out a little bit more. You're not overcrowding. If it gets too crowded, then it's not going to cook well. But you can see we've got just enough room for all these guys to kind of lay flat. You can see how they're starting to turn pink in some areas, which is good. That's what we want. And shrimp really don't have to cook very long. Alright, while that's cooking, I'm going to stir my grits. Now see how nice and creamy that is? That's what we're looking for. Nice creamy texture there. We've got that cheese all melted, so it's nice and smooth. I did taste it for the salt. It had just enough salt in there, not too much salt. All right, so these are about done. They're looking pretty good. So we've got a little browning going on in our shrimp. Gorgeous, don't those look good? Now I know when you go to a restaurant, you typically pay, what, $20 for this dish, and you can make it at home. All right, we're gonna turn it off. Next, we're gonna add our bacon back into our dish. Give it a quick stir in. All right, are you ready? Let's put it together. Now remember, this is really decadent, so you don't really need a whole lot. All right, there we go. That is our shrimp and grits. And you can have this on the table in about 30-45 minutes. So hope you enjoy this. If there's something else you'd like for me to cook for you, please send me a message, let me know. And if you like this and the recipes, make sure you hit the subscribe button. That way you can get news whenever a video comes out. Stay tuned. My next video, I'm going to be doing some snack food for game day, something that's really easy that the kids can help you with in the kitchen as well. So I hope you're doing well. Take care of yourself. Ciao. Thanks for eating with me tonight.